Thank you for tuning in to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline, and today we're going to talk a lot about drama in the NBA through these last few games. It's been about a week since we last met together, so that's 3 games that we have to go over, and there's been just drama, and it's a lot of fun. Makes for more excitement throughout the games, as well as we're going to discuss about some sneaker news, some deals that have gone through, as well as some sneakers that have been released that are not all that great. So stick around and let's get this show started.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Hey, what's up everybody? So it's me, Pauline, and like I said, so it's been about 3 games since the last time we've spoke. We've got to cover game 3, 4, and 5, and for game 3, as we all know, the Cleveland Cavaliers were back at home, so things were a lot different for them. It looks like they actually finally decided to kick it into gear, which is a lot of fun for all of us because it's been one of those series where I've been excited for it, and we've all been looking forward to this rematch between the Warriors and Cleveland. However, it's been the first 2 games weren't what I expected. I was expecting a lot more action and a lot more fight from the Cavaliers, so it was really nice to see them get a good win in at home. I was disappointed that the Warriors had played so poorly, but you know, it happens sometimes, and sometimes it just goes in the favor of the home team. There's that saying that there's home court advantage, and Cleveland really took advantage of that. I don't know if you guys saw in the beginning of the game, something that I really liked was that at home, and I didn't know this because I've never seen it before, but I guess it's a tradition out there in Cleveland, but everybody sings the national anthem together, which I think is really cool. So they don't have just one singer, the entire stadium sings it together, and I just thought that was really nice. I thought it was beautiful, and I was like, wow, this is, you know, Cleveland. I always get that feel that it's a really close-knit area, especially when it comes to their sports. Their fans, I know, take it really seriously, so I thought that was pretty cool. And then as the game commenced and everything, it was a good game. I was actually hoping that I felt 2 ways. I would not have been upset if the Warriors had, you know, swept the Cavaliers because they've been just having such a phenomenal season. It would not have really shocked me if they swept the Cavaliers, just because it just seems like this year the Warriors are really just doing whatever they want, and it just seems that this year the Warriors have been doing whatever they want and they're getting whatever they want. So it would really not have surprised me if they would have capped off this season sweeping the Cavaliers. And in the way that the Cavaliers were playing the first 2 games, it did not look like it would be impossible. But then when we fast forward to game 3 in Cleveland, the Cavaliers, you know, they just turned it up and they gave the fans what they wanted. I know that the fans there in Cleveland have a lot of energy and really helped them with that. One thing that I think was a major difference for the Cavaliers was that Love was not playing. We know that he was out for that concussion, and I actually really like the NBA's rules this year regarding players who suffer concussions or have been suspected of suffering a concussion. So in game 2, Love himself walked off the court because of some pain that he was feeling after getting hit in the back of the head. And so he was evaluated. The rules are that you get evaluated in the back, and the rules are that the player is escorted to the back into a quiet area so that he can be evaluated. And at that point, even if it's determined, if it is determined that the player has suffered a concussion, then there's a lot of other regulations and protocols that they have to go through, the team alongside that player, to make sure that he is as safe as possible, because, concussions are not something to take lightly, and I really like that the NBA is not taking that lightly. So the player, so in this case Kevin Love, was on 24-hour watch to see, and he's evaluated not only by the NBA, like his team trainers, but they also have a physician, an NBA physician, that also has to evaluate him. He has to show no symptoms for 24 hours, and then even after that, Kevin Love would have had to go through some like agility drills, jogging. I think that they also have to do like the stationary bike and things like that. And they have to complete all of these activities without showing any symptoms. So it's kind of like a dragged out process. I know a lot of people, especially during the finals, it's like, you want your players back in and everything, but it's nice that they take this time to really evaluate the players, make sure that they truly are safe before just throwing them back in there. And that's another thing that we were talking about in, I believe it was episode 2 of the podcast, is that the playoffs now are when a lot of players are getting hurt. And I know that this wasn't necessarily something that could have been prevented. It was just a hit to the head. But injuries, again, play a really big role in the playoffs, because you want your players in the game, so you want to quickly get them through these processes to get them approved to get back into the game. But then at the same time, you don't want to further injure them because you're rushing players to get back in the game. And speaking of injuries, there was also an injury with Bogut in Game 5 this past Sunday, where he collided with J.R. Smith and really hurt his knee. It looked like he had hyperextended his knee when he came down, and so they had to take him back. I did find out just this morning that after he had that MRI Tuesday night, or sometime Tuesday, he did fly with the team to Cleveland in hopes of playing in Game 6. However, it has been announced this morning that he will not need surgery, which is great. But due to the injury that he did suffer in Game 5, he will not be able to play the rest of the finals. It's going to take him about 6 to 8 weeks to recover, they're saying. And so even though it's not a major injury as far as needing surgery, he will need that rest. So that's going to be really interesting now that the Warriors will not have Bogut at all. We've been speaking a little bit about him these last few episodes just because of the impact that he does make as a big for the Warriors. So that's going to be something that they need to adjust. But again, it comes back to the fact that these players are, using their bodies, and they're using them hard, and they're suffering these injuries. So again, that injury with Bogut and Love, you can't really foresee those things. It just happens and throughout the course of the game. But they do have to, it does take time for these types of things to heal. But unfortunately in the finals, you're playing every 2 days or whatever, especially with the travel and everything. And so you really need these players in tip-top shape right now. It's going to be good for Bogut in a couple weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. In about 2-3 months, he'll be back and ready to go. Hopefully everything will heal up for him. But as of right now, they won't have him, which I'm pretty sad about, because I enjoy watching him play. And so we're going to cut it to a break real fast. And when we come back, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Game 4 and Game 5. Of course, the LeBron drama with Draymond Green. It's been pretty funny to see everybody's reactions to the King. And a lot of these nicknames that people are coming up with him. And then we're going to move along later in the segment. We're going to discuss about some sneaker deals and things that are going around the internet, especially with Stephen Curry and his shoes, and discuss kind of like my take on them and what's going on with all of that. So we'll catch you right after this break.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. And so we're going to just go right into it with the NBA Finals. Game 4, Kevin Love, we just spoke a little bit about his injury with his concussion and everything. So he was approved for Game 4 and he did come off the bench. I think that kind of did make a major impact for the Cavaliers. I know in Game 3 he could not play, and I don't want to say that a player isn't valuable, because every player on the team is valuable to an extent, but the Cavaliers had to adjust, and without Kevin Love, making those mistakes that he's been making these first 2 games, the Cavaliers in Game 3 were able to really make a statement to the Golden State Warriors and let them know that they're not going down easily. Game 4, I'm glad that Game 4, I'm glad that Golden State did win that, because I like it when games stay interesting and the series stays interesting, and when teams kind of go back and forth how it's going right now. And I don't know if any of you guys know, if you guys have been watching the games and listened to the commercials, because Golden State won in Cleveland, Taco Bell is giving out tacos to everyone. I think it's going to happen on the 21st, June 21st. So make sure you get your tacos. I thought that was pretty cool. So that was another reason why I was really looking forward to somebody winning on the road so that we can get some tacos. And I think we're going to get tacos again because Cleveland won at the Oracle. So I'm going to have to look into that. And I don't eat Taco Bell as much, but I mean, if they're going to give me a free taco, I'm taking it. So anyways, so Golden State won on the road Game 4. And that is also when, if you guys recall, that Draymond Green and LeBron had their incident. And so, that entire game was really physical, and I do in a way like it when refs let the players play, because there's times when you watch games and you're like, dude, just because he's breathing on him does not mean that you need to call a foul. Just because, there's a small push off because they're, fighting deep down in the key does not mean that you need to call every single thing that's happening. However, in Game 4, I do think that the refs did let it get a little bit out of hand, especially when, these two teams are so physical just naturally, and it has been a really physical series already. And Draymond Green, he's been on all the refs' radar, I think, when it comes to how he fouls and what he's doing, just because this postseason, well, just in general, Draymond really, he's just a physical player, but then there's times when he just does really dumb stuff. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Let's get it together and all of that. But at the same time, previously, they've kind of been letting Draymond's little things slide with him. And so in Game 4, now I have a lot to say about LeBron stepping over Draymond. Now, I like LeBron. I really enjoy watching him. I like what he does for his community. I think he's a great guy. But then also at the same time, I understand as a competitor, there's a different mode that these guys are in during games. And there's a different way. I played basketball growing up, and that was always, I'm completely different when I'm in my game mode, than how I am outside. And just, you know, that drive to win and to do whatever it is that I need to do to win is just different when you're in a game situation. And so LeBron and Draymond were kind of going back and forth with it, the play before, and then it was towards half court, a little bit past, when Draymond and LeBron had their little situation. Now, Draymond was on the ground and LeBron decided to step over him, and that's kind of one of those things, like, it's kind of a slap in the face. You know, LeBron was exerting his dominance, I think so, over Draymond, and I thought it was, I was actually just, I laughed when it happened, because I was like, no, he did not just step over this man's head. And I was thinking to myself, if that would have happened to me, I think any person, if you're on the ground and somebody steps over your head, your first reaction is to push them off of you, or to, you know, kind of, you're not going to let that happen. So as this was happening, I was thinking to myself, okay, Draymond's about to just go off, because you're not going to step over a man's head and it's just going to slide. So of course, as we know, Draymond threw up his hand. Supposedly it was, it was looked at as him aiming for LeBron's growing. I don't really know if that's necessarily his intent, but I mean, if your growing is over my head, I'm not going to just let it stay there. So, you know, and then as he popped up, Draymond did, you know, try to swing again. And I think that was him letting LeBron know that you're not the alpha male, you know, like, I'm not going to just let you just step over me and just let it happen. No. But then, because Draymond is already on everybody's radar, because he's always doing crazy stuff like that, he, of course, gets the flagrant one foul, even though I don't really think it was enough for a flagrant one foul, just because if you consider everything that was happening, you know, LeBron like a man stepping over your head, you're not going to allow that. I don't care who you are and how timid or how aggressive you are when you play or whatever, you're not going to just allow that. And I think that's why LeBron did it, because LeBron wanted to get a reaction out of Draymond. And so that's what happened with that. As everybody knows, Draymond, of course, was suspended for Game 5 because of the flagrants that he has accumulated throughout the postseason. And so he was not allowed to attend Game 5. If a player is suspended for a game, I think they can stay in the stadium up to 2 hours before tip-off. And then in this case, if Golden State would have won, then he would be allowed back into the arena to celebrate. So he just is not allowed in the arena basically during game time and pregame things. So, but then if they would have won, then he, being part of that team, would still be allowed to celebrate with them. But what I loved during Game 5 was all the posters that everyone had in the crowd. You know, you saw that hashtag free Draymond, which I just think was classic. And my personal favorite was, I think it was a woman holding this sign, but the sign was basically asking LeBron if he needed a bottle, like if he needed, because he was being a baby. So if it was time for his feeding time, because a lot of Warriors fans said that after in the post-game interviews of Game 4 that LeBron was acting like a baby because he got his feelings hurt. And of course, Klay Thompson was saying that you can't get your feelings hurt, which I think just is so much more fun. It just adds to the drama, you know. And it's funny because LeBron said he was trying to take the high road, but then of course everything came crashing down on him anyways, because that's just how it is. Your fans, fans of your competitors are always going to have something to say. And honestly, at that level, you really can't get your feelings hurt because you're grown and you can't let your emotions take control of you. And I think LeBron really plays emotional a lot of times, which can be a good thing, because if you're playing out of, and if you're letting those emotions fuel how strong you're playing and how aggressive you're playing, that's fine to an extent, as long as you're not getting out of control, you're not swinging on people because you got your feelings hurt. And I can't even imagine half of the things that are said on the court between these men, especially from a competitive point of view, because I know that they're calling each other's names, they're saying mean things, they're poking fun at them. I'm guessing they say a lot even about their families, because we know that there was that Kevin Garnett and Carmelo Anthony incident, speaking about Carmelo's wife and things like that. So I know that there's a lot of things that get said on that court all the time. And so you just got to kind of let it slide. But I guess in a high intensity game like that, LeBron kind of just took offense to that. And he, like I said, tried to take the high road in the post-game interview. So he said, but then, you know, he's still trying to do like a dig, but then it backfired on him. So I just thought those signs throughout the game when they would show them on TV was just a lot of fun. I thought they were hilarious. Free Draymond. He's free now. So he did watch the game at the Coliseum, which at first I thought was hilarious, but then it really made sense to me because I found out that the two stadiums are connected. So I guess that's a really cool thing, because he could have, you know, been away as far as the rules are concerned. Because if he would have been in the, there's like a $2,000 fine if a suspended player is in the arena. So he's out of the arena. He's at the Oakland A's stadium, and he's in there able to watch the game, do his thing and everything. But then because they are connected, it would have been easy for him to just stroll on over or maybe get a ride. I don't know what Draymond's into. I probably would have got a ride, at least in a golf cart or something. And he could have went and celebrated with his team. I know that his team tried really hard in Game 5 to try to win that for them, but they just couldn't quite pull it off, which is okay, because that's going to force, of course, as we know, Game 6 in Cleveland. And hopefully, I'm hoping for a Game 7 at the Oracle, and I'm hoping that the Warriors win Game 7 at the Oracle, only because, one, I want them to get a two-peat. You know, I want that back-to-back championship for them. I think it would be a great cap to this historical season that they've had. But then also, I'm not a Golden State Warriors fan or anything. I'm actually a Kings fan. But I think it would be nice for the Warriors fans and just for the Warriors to get a win at home. And it would extend the series. We'd get a full 7 games, which is a lot of fun. So as a fan of basketball, that's more fun because there's just more games to watch. And, but also, like I said, for the Warriors to enjoy that win with their fans at home, I think would just be really nice for them. They've already beat Cleveland at Cleveland. That's cool. But then it'd be really nice for the Warriors to get a win at home and just celebrate with their fans at home on their home court. I think that this would be a good year for that to happen. It's just like to round out the year for them. But we have to cut to a break. When we come back, we're going to discuss a little bit about fashion in the NBA and some of these players, what they choose to wear, what they choose not to wear. And Shumpert's hair is bugging the hell out of me. So we have to talk about that too. So I'll see you when we come back from this break.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now, don't bother, what's hot on Netflix, and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. And so for this last part, I know that I said we were going to discuss, style or whatever it is that they're calling it in the NBA right now. But I did want to give a quick shout out to Livingston in Game 5, that dunk over Jefferson. I'm not going to lie, I went crazy for that. And I was watching the game with my dad, my brother, and with my mom. So all four of us were watching the game together, and we all went crazy on that dunk. And I actually rewatched that dunk a couple of times at the end of the game, just because it was just so good. And especially for a guy like Livingston, you know, we all know about his previous devastating injury, and it's just amazing how he's been able to come back and he's been a really big factor for the Warriors these last few games. You know, he has been stepping up to the plate. He's been proving his place on the team and really has been stepping it up and filling in that gap for them when they need him. But that dunk was just nasty, you know, and especially coming from a guy who's not supposed to be able to do that, who they said would not be able to do that again. I thought it was great. I really did. And so little shout out to Livingston, you know, keep doing your thing. And it's just a nice story. Him being able to do that is just something that I just felt like I needed to say, because I thought it was a lot of fun. And I think that it's a nice, his journey has been long, but it's, you know, it's been all worth it for him. But anyway, so talking about Shump's hair. So I know to each his own, and everybody has their own style, and people can do whatever they want. And as long as it's not hurting anybody, it's really not that big of a deal, which is true. However, Shumpert's hair bugs me so much. Like every time I see him play, I just want to pause the screen, stick my hand through the TV, and just cut his hair. Just cut it. Like just cut it. Like that's all I want to do, because it's just ugly. It's not attractive. And I know that these guys are not playing to be attractive, whatever. They're playing for the money. They're playing for the championships. I get it. But then a guy like Shumpert does his hair differently often. And so I guess he likes it. You know, I think guys like Verjao need to put their hair in a ponytail. And I mean, I know they have a headband. I guess being as a girl growing up playing basketball, all my coaches growing up would never allow any of us to have our hair down when we are playing or during practice. So I just feel like guys need to have their hair pulled up, and it's just like one of those things where it's like an eyesore to me when I see these guys with this crazy hair. Like, just get a fade, you know, just do that. But I guess it's making a statement. It's a signature. I get it. Speaking of signatures, the clothes that these guys wear, I mean, I understand a lot of these clothes cost a lot more than anything that I own, which is great. But when you have a guy that's like over 6'6", wearing like these skinny little joggers, and I don't like dress shoes without socks. I just think that's really odd. Like, are your feet not like sweating in there? Like, are they comfortable? Like, I just feel like that's just really gross. But that's been the style lately. And what do I know about style? I'm just, you know, just little old me. I don't really have style, I will admit. But at the same time, like, I just don't like that look. And a lot of these guys, like, I mean, I guess it's kind of cool. I know Russell Westbrook, he has really, you know, I guess paved that way. I don't know. But then other guys, when I talk to other guys, like some of my friends and some of my friends that play basketball, they like it. They like that look, and they think it's cool. And I don't know. I don't think I would really, I don't know. It's just not attractive to me. Just some regular fitting pants. Like, I understand if you want to wear some sweats, but you know, like those capris that guys are wearing, like, I get that there's joggers, and I don't know if just because these guys are really tall that joggers now become capris, if that's what the problem is. But I don't think guys should be wearing capris, and I don't think that you should ever wear shoes without wearing socks. It's just nasty. I just feel like I said, your feet are sweaty, and it's just not, it's not cool. Like, you need, maybe if guys, maybe they make those little booties, you know, girls, we wear the little thin booties that don't come up past the ankles. So like when we're wearing like flats and stuff, you can't see our socks, but we're still wearing socks because it's just nasty not to wear shoes without socks. But whatever, that's just my thing. So I don't know how you guys feel about it. Some of the things that they wear, like I know, are like custom pieces for them, or pieces that only guys that make millions of dollars can afford. But whatever, I mean, that's just my thing. But then at the same time, we're talking about it, so it gives us something to talk about, and it gives them more, you know, FaceTime on the media and everything. And speaking of shoes, so Ben Simmons has announced recently that he has opted not to go with Adidas for his sneaker deal, but to go with Nike, a classic brand that a lot of athletes go with. Even though now Ben Simmons is projected to be, you know, a number 1, a number 2 in this draft coming up next week, actually. And he actually decided to go with Nike over Adidas, like I said. And they both were 5-year contracts. However, I do know that Adidas had a few more bonuses, like they had like a signing bonus and things like that. But he's chosen to go with Nike with a $7.5 million deal over the next 5 years, I believe that it is. And I think that's kind of cool. I think it's really cool for these guys to really take advantage of the fact that you need more than just your contract and the money that you're making from your contract in order to live that lavish lifestyle that a lot of us believe that basketball players live. It's through the endorsements. And I know that LeBron James himself even makes more money off all his side ventures and his endorsements and things like that, rather than just his contract in the NBA. So I think it's really smart that he is taking advantage of the fact that he can do something like this. A lot of guys play in the NBA, but they're not able to get these major endorsements like that. So I think it's really smart that he's taking advantage of that. I do also think that it's crazy that brands will sign these guys before they've even played an NBA game. But hey, you know, if you believe in something they say, you should invest in it, you should go for it, you got to take that leap. And I mean, I guess Nike feels that he's worth it, and that's great. I think that that's really great that he has that opportunity. Like I said, if anybody wants to give me an endorsement and tell me to wear any brand, I don't care what it is, and they're going to pay me, I'll wear it. I'll make it look hot. That'll be my favorite brand. So, you know, if they believe in him, I think it's great. I think that sneaker deals are amazing for athletes, because I know just the fact that my nephew, he's really cute. He's 8 and he plays on his little basketball team, and I go watch his games. And honestly, if you are going to have any kind of endorsement deal as far as athletic wear, you have to, I don't know if this is part of the negotiations or if it's just automatic, I don't know, but the market is little kids. So, because when I go to my nephew's games, they are all these little kids decked out. My nephew walks in to the gym looking like Steph Curry, like from his backpack to his socks, like his, like if he has decided that he's going to be LeBron James today, then he has a LeBron James backpack. He has LeBron James socks, LeBron James shoes, you know, his shorts, his shirt, everything head to toe is whatever player he's feeling that day. And, you know, it's cool. So I think that, and all his other little friends, you know, and they have those huge backpacks that are really made for like adults, but these little kids, they're running around with it. So, you know, that's the market that you really want to go into as far as your athletic wear, because the little kids, they're going to beg their parents. They love it. They all are running around looking like highlighters, because right now that's really in are those bright color schemes and colorways with the shoes and everything. So they're all running around with their pink and neon shoes and purple hats and all that. So, I mean, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, congrats to you, Ben, on signing that deal. Good luck with all of that. Next week is going to be a big deciding factor for him, along with a lot of other guys with the draft on the 23rd. And there was something else. Steph Curry is with Under Armour for his own personal reasons, which I think are great. He's decided to sign with Under Armour. They've given him some leeway with a lot of his personal beliefs and what he's been wanting to really create with his shoes. But recently, his some low tops debuted, and they were getting a lot of criticism on Twitter. A lot of people were not liking them. I personally don't really care because I don't really wear male athletic shoes throughout the day. I will wear Adidas and everything, and I love LeBron James shoes. I love the colorways that he comes up with, but I don't really own any of them just because I'm kind of out of that phase. Once I got out of my tomboy phase, I stopped with all of that. But Steph Curry's shoes, I just thought they looked plain. I didn't necessarily think that they looked ugly. I just thought they were so plain. They're just white and gray. My dad probably would really like them. Sorry, Dad. But, they weren't bad, but they just were plain. And I think nowadays with everybody having such crazy colorways and random things happening, you got cork on shoes and suede and all that madness, it just was boring. So I think everybody didn't like it because it was boring and just too plain. But Steph Curry has the number one shoe in the United States, so he ain't tripping. He's doing fine. Whatever, whether we like it or not, we're going to buy it. People are talking about it. There's people out there that do like it that are going to buy it. There's people out there that don't like it, but because it's Steph, they're going to buy it. My nephew would not be surprised if he walked into my house the next day with those shoes. If they come in kid size, even if they don't come in kid size, he might get them. He's just that cool of a kid. So, but anyways, that's going to conclude our episode 3 of the Golden State Media Basketball Podcast. Check us out next week where we discuss, I'm going to go over a little bit about the draft because that will be taking place next week, as well as the wrap up of the finals. So once again, I'm your host, Pauline, and this is the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. Listen to us at you can always listen to any of my shows as well as some of our other podcasts that we have at GSMCpodcast.com, or you can download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, or Google Play. So hit us up and we'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.